Last spring, shortly after we bought the Crosstrek, I was really itching to get out of the house and go exploring in the thing. The sun was starting to make things turn green and winter was maybe over. And new car that can go anywhere. It was just sitting outside the house doing nothing. And so I thought about going to check out that lake up again in Lake County. It's called Thompson Reservoir, which is just south of a very small town called Silver Lake, way out there by Christmas Valley. Instead of driving up Highway 97 and taking the paved road to Silver Lake, which I should have done, I decided to head east instead, and then drive north on the unpaved road going directly to Thompson Reservoir. After we got into it about 20 miles from the highway, short patches of snow appeared every so often. And then they got more and more frequent, eventually becoming longer and deeper patches, as patches of snow always do when you go up in elevation. In my mind, this wasn't going to be a problem because Subaru. And this Subaru had X mode, and let's just see what it can do. But this was not Joy's way of thinking at all. Not at all. And so about the time when we had way more road behind us than in front of us, it was pretty much constant unplowed snow, which made Joy upset, which in turn ruined the fun of driving in the snow for me. Because there was a scene in the car, an extremely bad vibe, and there was no appeasing. So when we got to the final junction, I didn't drive up the east side of the lake to the spot I was trying to go. Instead, I drove up the west side, where it was decidedly less snowy. And eventually we made it to pavement, and finally the Silver Lake Highway. So after we got there, I headed west and north, kind of generally heading towards Bend for about 20 miles in stony silence, just kind of thinking about Plan B. And I was finally saved by a really cool geological feature called Fort Rock. You know that Devil's Tower place featured in Close Encounters of the Third Kind? This is kind of like that, but this is its own thing. It just kind of looms up out of the desert at you like a mirage. What it is it's an enormous near circle of towering, jagged rock walls, making it seem like a good place for a fort. This ring, it's an old volcanic ring in the middle of what was a shallow sea in prehistoric times. It was an island at one point, and you can imagine the Native Americans who canoed to and from and around this big looming rock, if you use your imagination a little bit. If you're going to Fort Rock, you might as well just go over to this nearby crater. This is definitely worth checking out, and it's only about 7 miles away. It's called Hole in the Ground. Not really a too inventive name, but very descriptive. But rather than being a hole in the ground, it's really a giant crater. Now, some people say that the crater is a result of an alien spaceship hitting the Earth. Others say Paul Bunyan dug this corral for Babe the Blue Ox. But just like Fort Rock, this hole has a volcanic origin. In fact, this crater happened because of a big explosion. Kind of like Crater Lake, only not so big. It's kind of like a baby, really. But unlike Crater Lake, you can actually drive down into this thing. There's 3 roads. You can go in by one of the 3 steep roads that go in, or by this really cool road with all of these whoops. But don't bring your RV. So the hole is roughly 400 feet in depth. I know this because I sent a drone up to get shots, and it has a 400 feet maximum ceiling, and it just kind of stops there. It's also about a mile wide. So if you want to drive out there, I will put links in the description so that it can be easier to find. I've heard some people have had a hard time finding, especially hole in the ground, because there's a myriad of roads that you can take to get out there and they get lost. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time with another place.